And welcome to week 11 on the recipe of happiness, and we will conclude now of recipe number 9, I believe, which that was your thoughts. Now, it was very interesting what I said last week. It sounds good to many, but yet others do challenge me, and they say, isn't there negativity, isn't there real stuff happening on planet Earth? And I do not have control over my thoughts. If there's missiles flying, people are getting injured, children are dying from starvation, do you want me to be oblivious to all that? Do you want me just to cover up and pretend life is good? Do you want me to pretend and just think about the sun is above the clouds? There is a lot of hardships on planet Earth, and as humans we do think about it. We know a neighbor, we know a friend, people go through a very difficult time. And what do you mean about having positive thoughts? Yes, there are those times and those days that we could have positive thoughts, but it's something that's very, very difficult. So the one that's deep into negativity, I don't think this will help you. This will change your mind. But for those that are on the fence, that are willing to listen, I think this will work. For argument's sake, the number is way higher. For argument's sake, each and every day you wake up, each and every day you're alive, there's about 50 million, I'm just throwing out that number so it'll be easier to work with, there's 50 million of good things that are happening that day, and 50 million negative stuff. 50 million beautiful stuff, act of kindness, graciousness, beauty, phenomenal. It's just, we could sit here for years and talk about the 50 million things happening within one day, even though the number is in the billions and trillions. But let's stick to the 50 million. At the flip side, I must admit that there are 50 million of negative, horrific, there's torture, there's death, there is injustice, there is racism. I mean, wherever you turn around, there's going to be negativity. I would say the difference of the person that chooses to be positive and the person that chooses to be negative, because at the end of the day it's going to be a choice. Where and what will you focus on? Where and what will you focus on? Again, I'm not saying to ignore what's going on. If anything, instead of thinking about it and thinking again and again and again, if you're in a position you could take action, take action. If there's a kid in Africa that doesn't have food to eat, take action and just send a donation to the right organization that will actually feed that child today, instead of thinking, oh my gosh, look at this world, there's people that are starving, it's so unfair, I mean, why is it that way? And just to get into that negative mood. You did nothing by thinking about that person starving in Africa today when you thought about it for half an hour. If you go online for 3 minutes and you actually click and give a donation of $3, $7, or $10, if you want to give more, by all means, you actually did something about it. The happy people, I'm calling them happy people, I know, because those are people that chose their thoughts, they will focus on the 50 million or a few of the 50 million things that do go right. And they will elaborate scientifically. We know that the way our physiology works, the way our body works, is when we focus on the positive, we will create more positive. So when we focus on the few of the 50 million things that did go well, somehow, intentionally or unintentionally, we will actually go further and we will want to add to those things. We're going to be in a good mood. The person that chooses to look at the horrific things that go on in the world, and there's 50 million today, when someone will come and say, hey, how are you? You want to do something? They'll look them back in their face like, are you nuts? Life sucks. What did they just do now? If you believe it or not, I know that wasn't your intention, but that look you gave your friend and that body language response was painful, hurtful, rejectful. So it's funny, you want to be happy, you want to see a good world, yet because you focused and your thoughts were on the negativity, not only you're not changing anything, but look, you actually hurt another person, and that's the way it goes on. It's all about your thoughts. You could choose if you're going to look on the things that go right and go wrong. And every day, my belief is, I know you're not going to agree with me, my personally belief is 99% point something in the world is working properly, awesomely, phenomenally. Less than a fraction of 1% is not working well. But for argument's sake, for the negative people that choose to be negative, I'll say 50-50. How could you say 99%? Well, I'll start, I could go on for hours, but I'm just going to give this a minute or two. Most people don't even know the number of cells we have in our body. And I think for every cell that we have, we can give gratitude for that cell. Because working all together in harmony, we have a body that's physical, that's spirit, and that has millions of functions, if not billions of functions. If mine and your body, as an average person, has 37.2 trillion cells working in harmony, I'm sorry, I look like one person, but I'm not. I am 37.2 trillion. What is going wrong in my life now compared to 37.2 trillion? Just think of this thought. I could go on for 5 hours and go on and on how the world really is 99% positive, and that's why my thoughts will follow the 99%. And anything that needs correction, I will take action to correct it. I will not be in denial. I will not ignore it. But I will not sit there and sulk in sadness and ask God and ask the universe and ask the atheist of why life sucks. Life sucks. I know you hurt your knee. I know you cut your finger. It's painful. I had both of them happen to me. I take care of it. I go to the doctor. I don't ignore it. I don't laugh when I'm in pain. I cry when I'm in pain. But most of the time, I'm not in pain, and therefore I could say 37.2 trillion cells are working properly. Now, sadly, there are people, less than 1% of society, that are in the hospital right now, suffering deeply, dying any minute. This is not for them. These are the last moments of their lives. If they want, there are stories that people chose to focus on positivity. So the bottom line is, for just to make it fair, 50% of life is positive, 50% of life is negative. It will be our choice what thoughts we will have, which leads us into the 10th ingredient, which it wasn't on my original list. It just joined it today because I kept on thinking about this. Then I go, wait, that's a separate ingredient. And this is something big, which we're going to start today, but I don't think we're going to finish it today. Because this is big, this is hours, but I'll try to do it in 10-20 minutes. Self-image. Self-image is huge, and barely anyone in society talks about it. I'm sure many therapists know about it, but definitely the media doesn't talk about it. What I mean by self-image is, and this is something huge going on in media about bullying, zero tolerance to bullying, zero tolerance to bullying, bullying in the school, bullying here, bullying there, bullying at work, and people are missing the core of the problem. Bullying is a symptom. What do you mean a symptom? Someone walks over to you and bullies you. How's that a symptom? Listen here, we still got a few minutes. Please don't trust anything I say. Do your own research. Like attracts like. And this is not a theory, what I'm talking to you about, because I have spoken to these survivors or victims of bullying 10, 20, 30, 40 years later, and I've spoken to children up to the age of individuals in their 70s. And when they talk about a horrific life of being bullied by their parents, being bullied in school, being bullied by a teacher, being bullied by an uncle, being bullied by a family member, there is one thing each and every victim, each and every survivor, I hope they're surviving by now, has in common. That there is a hidden, invisible bully inside themselves. Let me say this one more time, because this might be very new to many of you. There is a hidden, it's not obvious, 90% of the time it's not obvious. There's a hidden bully within themselves. If I ask you, sit down after this talk and write down, deep down, how you view yourself. I do it all the time with people that I coach. Some of them are very successful. Some of them get E's in school. Some of them are athletes. Some of them are huge doctors and lawyers. Performance has nothing to do with self-image. Maybe we'll talk about it later. I'm a loser. I'm a jerk. I'm conniving. I'm manipulating. I'm rotten on my core. There's so many things people tell me deep down about themselves. And me and you know where it comes from. Just go back to what you heard as a child. It doesn't matter. But the bottom line is, there's a part within us. It's not always all of us, because all different parts of us know that we're very good at certain things. We're very good in law. We're very good in business. It's nice when you could earn 7 figures. No one's going to deny that. But they're still depressed. They have all the money to buy all the drugs, but they're still depressed. They're still unhappy. But when you dig down, when you dig deep down, it's the self-image. Deep down, how do you think about yourself? A person that's hurt will bully. Usually, it's never a healthy child, never a healthy adult. Children or adults that never healed, bullies, bully, and bully. As my quote goes, when you feel like garbage, you act like garbage. Scientifically, who did they bully? They might not know this consciously, but subconsciously, they will go to the child that's alike. A child that doesn't feel good about themselves. Now, this child can be the greatest one when it comes to performance, when it comes at work. But I'm not talking about performance. I'm not talking about external stuff. I'm talking about internal stuff. Internal stuff, there's a very poor self-image. And these are the kids that get bullied. So this is, by the way, once we're talking about self-image, this is very important instead of making a separate talk about bullying. If you take full control over all these bullies, and you will control that no one should bully in school, no one should bully at work, you're still in trouble. The reason why you're in trouble, because the bully in you is still there. It won't make you happier if no one bullies you. Now, but you're going to ask me, but what are you talking about? My child was very, very happy. Tell the person, or the people, or the group again, to bully them. Well, did you ever see mud and water? If it sits long enough, you could actually see a little bit through the water. But then you just stir up the mud, and then the whole entire water cannot be seen. It's not transparent. You just can't see it. It's muddy water. Those people sort of wake up, agitate the little bully within us. And obviously, people are chasing you. People are hurting you. People are making fun. It only adds. It's validating what we feel. So if we feel rotten about ourselves, but we don't think, we're busy studying, we're busy engaging in so much in life because we want to shut down those voices that we're no good, and a bully comes and says, you know, you're absolutely a jerk, you're a loser, you fatso that you are, you know, you're brainless, you're stupid, you think you're funny. If it would happen to a person that has a beautiful and positive self-image, the recipient would look at the person just like you look at a dog when a dog barks in you. Do you really read into it? Do you go home and cry and go, oh my gosh, the dog just barked at me? Does it know that I'm a cheater? Does it know that I'm a not good person? No one sits down, or I would say 99% of people will not sit down after a dog barks at them when they're biking or taking a walk, And to sit there and to tell their parents or to tell their peers that they're very depressed because they got bullied by a dog. The dog barked at them, and no, because the dog just barked. Because there's nothing personal there. Now, it could be the dog is upset at you, but you don't even care. I know this sounds absurd, but please try it out for yourself. Investigate your self-image. Humans are very similar to a car and to a computer. When you look at a car, for so many years we look at the external part of the car. We look at the beautiful color, we look at the shine, especially if it was polished. That's not really a car. Some cars you could be so excited about and so impressed, but open up the hood, you might find nothing there. Go deeper inside your soul. And I am sorry, I'm not blaming you for being bullied. I was bullied a lot too. Now looking back, I know exactly what my self-image was when I was bullied. And by the way, this is personal, but ironically, when my self-image changed, I was around the same people. I didn't have to move. I was around the same people. And that bullying really subsided. Bullies will only pick on bullies. And those children or adults that get bullied because there's a bully inside of them. And so sad, in the early years of helping people and coaching people, I did not know this, and I used to try to help them and validate them and find various techniques of how to stand up for themselves. And sometimes after half a year of therapy, I would go, "Ooh, did you just say that?" And only then was it revealed to me the deep monster with inside of them. Today, if someone has one session with me, I'm obviously going to listen. Sometimes I would listen to 2 or 3 sessions, but very sensitively, in a very sensitive way, I will then ask them to describe their self-image, what's going on deep inside of them. And when I go deep inside of them, some of them will admit that they knew it before, some of them will tell me that they didn't even realize, yes, there's parts of them that they do not like. There's parts of them that do not like. So let's summarize. Go on vacation, take drugs, alcohol, run around, make money, change jobs, move. Look for happiness outside of you. It's never gonna happen internally long term. It's just a band-aid. The question is how many minutes, how many months, or maybe how many years does it last? But by the end of the day, what I have found with humans that are pursuing happiness and tranquility, they could run, and somehow, didn't study it long enough, but this is what I've seen over the years, it could go on for 30 or 40 years, and then it just expires. The analogy I use for it is the cars. When you buy a car, you have a spare tire, not like the olden days, it was a full spare tire, but it's a small spare tire, and most of them have on them written only drive 50 miles or else, which means they're not made for that weight for that long term. And after 50 miles, you might have a blowout, let alone if you drive on the highway a few 100 miles. Good luck, I hope not to be in that car or next to that car. When we fake the happiness, it's a matter of time. Somehow, I don't know how people pull through 30, 40 years, anywhere between their 50s and 60s, that age, they suddenly collapse and they go into major depression. And what they did, they used so many different band-aids, so many different, sometimes even religions, even cults, and traveled the world, and drugs, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, the body says enough is enough. And many times, there's one culprit there, and that is the self-image, that the self-image is very poor. What I'm going to ask you, sit down, regardless if you're 20 or if you're 75 or if you're 97. Be very honest. Close your eyes. For 5 minutes or less, if you could do a half an hour, great. Focus on the air going in and out of your lungs. It relaxes your body. That's one of the methods to connect you to self-conscious. And ask yourself a very personal and deep and vulnerable question. What is my self-image? Am I awesome? Am I phenomenal? And I know what you guys are thinking right now, because the moment I say this to anyone, they go, what do you mean that's showing off, that's boasting? We were taught not to do that. We'll have to talk about that in another video. No, it's not boasting to acknowledge that you are created in God's image. Showing off means something else. I'll have to make a separate video. What's the difference of self-acknowledgement, validating your true value, or showing off? They look alike to most people, but they're a difference of the sun and the moon. When you're on planet Earth, they both look like the same size. The moon is smaller than planet Earth, and the sun, I forget how many times, is larger than planet Earth. To your naked eye, they might look like the same size, and they're round as well. They're not. The moon is smaller than the world. Showing off and evaluating your true self-image and being proud. And I'm talking about being proud. That's not boasting. That's not showing off. Thank you for watching. Have yourself a wonderful, delightful day. And enjoy, 9 and 10. Enjoy ingredient 9. Be aware of your thoughts. Focus on all that goes good. And be aware of your self-image. And boy, oh boy, happiness is just not a state that's something you'll become happy. Happiness keeps on growing and growing and growing. And it's just so beautiful. You could be 51 and I feel like I still got 98% left to go within happiness, because it just feels so deep. And you keep on going and keep on going, and there's no end to it. And it's so exciting that you could keep on growing within happiness, because happiness is an emotion which is connected to infinite. My body stops growing at the age of 16, 17. Wisdom and spirit continues to grow and flourish if you only have the tools and the right mindset and the right manual. Thanks for listening.